So, Corey, why don't we have anything for zero trust? I see zero trust all over our competitors. Um, I don't.
Yeah.
We don't have a product called zero trust. What's up with that?
Well, we actually have several products related to zero trust, right? So what you hear from the industry right now is a bunch of noise and marketing surrounding what zero trust should be, and it's oftentimes based upon what that individual technology vendor is selling in the marketplace, or what their offerings are. And so zero trust in principle is an architectural concept, right? It means the delivering least privilege access for users and entities across the board, right? So there's no concept of privilege by default. It is you gain privileges based upon your context, and as we drive towards more real time systems and machine learning solutions and AI that are able to react much more quickly than a human can in terms of mediating incidents, you will see zero trust evolve, not just from the static or semi-dynamic controls we have into real-time controls that are again enforced by artificial intelligence.
So, what is the answer?
Well, so yeah, I see we're live, right? So the short of it is there's no one answer, right? So depending on what you're trying to designate or deliver zero trust principles for, that can be a technology ranging from microsegmentation to encryption to things like identity aware proxy or access proxy from a user access standpoint.
All right. So I had a conversation with a think tank the other day who's the president of a cloud security organization. A lot of our competitors that have zero trust models are specific to their cloud environment. So how does that make us different? How do we set up our zero trust? Does it matter where it's at?
No, it absolutely doesn't matter where it's at. It's kind of bring your own zero trust, if you will. And so if you think about the different camps from a zero trust perspective, you have camps that are focused surrounding the network and surrounding the transport to deliver zero trust. You have camps that are looking at driving zero trust closer to the application and application communication. So think more along the lines of service controls and service meshes. And then there are camps that are focused on user access in the shortest path possible. And that's the camp we sit in. And so if you look what's been done in the industry, you can look towards Google with their Beyond Corp or Beyond Trust project. And F5 delivers an off-the-shelf solution that allows just that, a core access proxy solution that can be deployed in your own premises on top of any hypervisor or on top of virtually any infrastructure as a service provider to provide the access proxy function.
And I think you might have already hit on this, but one of the other topics that I've discussed is they're moving away from, or organizations want to move away from sort of the SASE model with their zero trust and bring it all the way down to the data objects. Do we have a way to accomplish that today?
No, we're getting close, right? So we can manage the interfaces to the actual data objects themselves. So context from the entity or device from the user in concert with their identity before we allow access to get access to data and the requests that form the access to that data, right? That's the core of the access proxy function, right? So, be able to broker, the not just the identity, but all of the third-party context, telemetry, metadata in order to make real-time access decisions.
So what do I need for zero trust with F5 for identity aware proxy? What do I have to do?
Yeah, so this is essentially a BIGIP with a module called Access Policy Manager, and that solution is a full proxy solution. Allows you to execute policy on a per session or per request basis to govern, all of the front end, back end access, while also integrating third-party data sources and smoothing the user experience from an identity perspective. So meet the users on their terms in terms of federated identity, and then meet the applications on their terms in the way in which those applications want to consume identity and authorization information.
I guess I'll ask one, since Bill and I's customers are predominantly 100% federal.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any problems with smart card authentication or multi-factor auth, or is that a problem for us at all?
It's not a problem at all, and your customers can actually leverage the full capabilities of full proxy platform to be able to transition that smart card authentication into a mutual TLS authentication with the actual backend system. So if you think about what's taking place here, we're able to deliver fully meshed mutual TLS authenticated sessions from end to end, and that's something very unique in the marketplace.
Well, I like what you said before. Maybe I'll paraphrase it, or maybe these are your exact words, but doing business on the customer's terms, and that's something that I communicate with my customers quite a bit, because we've always had this really awesome toolkit of being able to, if we didn't have something off the shelf, which it turns out for a zero trust architecture we do, but even if we don't, we have the ability to face the customer on their terms, and whatever they need, we can usually provide out of the box without having to resort to custom coding or something like that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And in recent versions, we've modernized the extensibility framework to make it more accessible to more of the engineers and architects who are designing and deploying these solutions.
Awesome. Well, I think we wanted to do these for 5 minutes, so I think we're right about that spot, maybe a little over.
Yeah.
So y'all got a bonus.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, man. Corey, I appreciate you coming on, man. And especially at last minute, since we had somebody scheduled and they fell through. So
No worries.
You're in the hot seat.
Wilburn flaked on us.
Yeah, Wilburn flaked on us. We'll put in the description some of the stuff we talked about today. And then, if anybody wants to comment on questions or anything on the follow-up, we can have a follow-up. I'd like to have a deeper discussion on this. Maybe it would take longer than 5 minutes. But at least everybody gets a taste and kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts?
Oh, no. I like to coin a hashtag, start with IAP. So access proxies are, I think, near and long term, the default, access or zero trust entry point for most organizations. And essentially, the project gives you the most coverage bang for buck from a user and entity access standpoint into the backend application. So it moves you to a model where you have a central point of enforcement and data telemetry on who, what, when, where, such that you can govern all of that access from one place and not have to worry about the authentication authorization stacks and each individual application and each individual node of that application, right? You have kind of a centralized point of control and normalization for all your authentication authorization flows. So that's one big benefit from implementing the access proxy. Beyond that, there's technologies that are being adopted today and on the horizon that kind of cover some of the remaining areas of the CIA triad that work well with access proxies. These would be DOT and DOH, DNS over TLS, and DNS over HTTPS, and also from a TLS standpoint, ESNI. These technologies combined with the operating systems help you deliver some of the private access aspects, such that you're not leaking metadata as you're accessing the access proxy. And these things are largely available today or in early access right now. So if we want to have a deeper level conversation, let's set it up.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Right.